So let's stop this now and move on with the presentation. So what's really at stake here for the United States? This is all important because everything that we do at work, at home, at play is increasingly going to be done over internet protocol, over the internet, and the faster the connectivity is to broadband, the more we will have a chance of doing that in a way that is at the forefront of what's going on around the world. And this is going to happen at faster and faster and faster speeds as time goes on. The world is growing increasingly small. A century ago, when the United States was electrifying, it took 50 years for electricity to reach some of the most rural areas. The private power companies started out by electrifying major cities, and thousands of communities stepped forward and formed their own electric utilities, and we moved together with the public and private sector pushing out on electricity. That happened over the space of roughly 50 years. Well, we don't have that kind of time this time around because the world has become much smaller and interconnected, and we need to be sure that we push broadband opportunity out to all of our communities as rapidly as possible. And what else is going to happen? As you know, here in North Carolina, we're going to lose many of our traditional jobs to low-income countries around the world, such as China and India and Brazil and Mexico and other low-cost countries. Now, this is not to say that we will necessarily lose all of our manufacturing, but there's a difference between manufacturing industries and manufacturing jobs. Our industries can thrive, as some have in North Carolina, by automating and by outsourcing to other countries the jobs that are created, the jobs that are needed to do different kinds of work. But if our task, as we see it, is to provide for our people meaningful work, meaningful income, meaningful quality of life, it is crucially important to focus on not just successful industries, but on successful job opportunities. And so our best chance of providing for our people an opportunity to earn the kinds of income to which we have become accustomed is to prepare our workforce as soon as possible to participate in high-paying information-based jobs. And in turn, that creates several important needs. One is to improve our educational system. A second is to improve our infrastructure to enable our workforce to communicate with the rest of the world. Now, broadband, as I've mentioned several times, has multiple benefits, and the important thing is that these benefits are all happening and expanding at the same time, like an expanding universe. Let's start with robust economic development. In our paper, you'll see an analysis of 11 economic studies showing that there is a strong relationship between economic development and broadband, and the more broadband you have, the stronger that connection is. You'll also see 9 case histories, and let me give you one example of those 9 case histories. Let's take Bristol, Virginia, a town of 18,000 on the southern border of Virginia, right over Bristol, Tennessee. And around 2000, Bristol was in a dying city, in a dying region of Virginia. All of its major industries up to that point were all dying at the same time. That includes coal, it includes agriculture, it includes textiles, and it includes tobacco. They were all going in the tank at the same time. And the people of Bristol, as you would go down to their downtown area, you would see boarded up buildings. You would go outside of Bristol, and the whole area, all of southwest Virginia, was in depression. So the people of Bristol decided that their best hope was to rebuild the city and rebuild the region through broadband technologies and industries that might come and use that technology. So they built a fiber to the home system. It took several years of fighting in the courts, in the state legislature, but ultimately, with success, the city got its fiber to the home system built, and then good things started to happen. Roughly 65% of the customers and users, 65% take rate. By that we mean the services that the city offers over its fiber system are being used by 65% of the market there. Now the system is extremely successful. It is bringing in hundreds of jobs at a time. New companies locating in that area just to be on that fiber system and to have available the kind of high-speed connectivity to the rest of the world. Now imagine the impact to a town of 18,000 that's dying, bringing in 1,000 jobs. And there are more than that coming into that community. 1,000 high-paying jobs. Each of those jobs creates income that flows around that community. Every dollar that's spent on soccer cleats and haircuts and building supplies and new homes then gets circulated again in that community. Economists called that the multiplier effect. It usually goes around 4 to 8 times. Each time that creates increased property values, increased state and local taxes, increased wealth of the community, and now that whole region is on fire. It is working down there. The state put a lot of tobacco money into reviving that region on the basis of communications, advanced communications, and that's an example of how this works. We've included several other examples and other information. In this world, education never stops. It's lifelong. It takes many forms. Most people change the way they see themselves in their world many times over. With broadband, you can stay current. And as we go right down this list, we've provided dozens of specific examples of this in our paper. Public safety, homeland security, affordable access to modern health care, environmental sustainability, telework. We are now looking at, we passed $126 a barrel of oil for the first time, and the experts predict we're going up to $200 a barrel. How can we do that? How can we sustain that kind of budget-busting cost to communities? There's no way we can do that. We need to be able to work at home to save driving, to save the burdens on the environment. Broadband is a way to do that. Urban revitalization, cost-effective government services, entertainment. We'll talk more about entertainment and the uses of broadband to drive video. Senior citizens, disabled individuals, young people all have needs that we can help to satisfy by dealing with broadband and ultimately quality of life. What are some of the key drivers? Key drivers. We've had an explosion of desire to get video over the broadband. Now you've all heard about YouTube, right? It's part of presidential campaigns. It's part of the common culture. That didn't even exist 2 or 3 years ago, and now every single day 100 million YouTube clips are being downloaded and 65 million YouTube clips are being uploaded, and these are very poor quality. What'll happen soon will be that the quality of YouTube clips will increase, and then we'll see what'll happen. Now AT&T's Vice President Jim Ciccone just a couple of weeks ago in London talked about what we're seeing in this world, what video is driving. And he said that in 3 years' time, 20 typical households will generate more traffic than the entire internet is generating today. Can you imagine that? 20 typical households. And he said we're going to be butting up against the physical capacity of the internet by 2010. That's 2 years away. And also